Ready to fly RC airplane on the channel today, the FMS Red Dragonfly. Here we go. What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Justin Davis of Drone Camps RC, and you have to know that I'm an airplane guy first and foremost. Since I was a kid I've been flying RC airplanes, so this is a review of a beginner trainer style RC airplane. If you're looking for something under the $200 price range, this one comes ready to fly. And the coolest thing about this one versus the pterosaur that I recently reviewed on the channel, now I know how to say it right, thanks internet for that. The pterosaur was a DIY plane that can also come as a kit without the electronics or the electronics, but it takes you about 2 to 3 hours to build, set up the radio and all that. You have to bend the linked rods and everything, so linkage setup. So you have to kind of know what you're doing with that plane a little bit for that price. This one is around $160 on the Banggood website, and you can get this one with everything included in the box and be flying this plane in about an hour's time. Pretty much all I had to do in this process was hook up the wing, plug in the ailerons on each side there, and just make sure things are moving the right directions, which they were on the radio. If you have any problems and things aren't moving the right direction, it does have servo reversing. The cool thing about this plane for the beginner is it is a pusher. It is a pusher plane, which means that you have your motor facing backwards. It is a 5-inch prop back here. It is running a 2S 1300 battery, Predator series. It's a lithium polymer battery. You can charge this one up on the existing charger that comes with it. And the coolest thing is that this plane does get around close to a 15-minute flight time, 12 to 15 minutes. It's a pretty long flight time. You can fly this line of sight. You could also put an FPV camera on this. Today we're going to take out my Insta360 Go on this adventure, and we're going to strap this to the top of this plane to give you a little pilot's perspective. It is a 35-inch wingspan, so it could be a little bit of a rough ride, but I think you're going to enjoy it. And then we'll go out and do some flying. After that, I'll come in, as always on the channel, I'll give you my final opinion on this sub $200 trainer plane for beginner RC airplane flyers. Quite gentle flying plane or aerobatic. Either way you want to go, it has plenty of progression for moving up to the next level as an RC airplane pilot. So let's go ahead now out to the field. Let's do some flying. Here we go. Okay guys, so this is a lot of fun. If you're just getting started in flying RC airplanes, what a fun time for your entire experience in the hobby. You'll remember this the most out of just about anything in the hobby. Your first takeoff is kind of a terrifying experience. So my best advice to you guys is just to give this particular plane some good throttle, about 80 to 90% of throttle on takeoff, and try to keep that nose straight and true, and then pull back on that right stick, and it's going to give you elevator up, which will get this airplane up in the air and get up to a good altitude. Try not to fly too low first, and also the trick is not flying too high. That's kind of the trick with flying line of sight. If you learn to fly line of sight first before you learn to fly FPV, that's also a huge advantage to you as an RC airplane pilot. One thing I did see that this plane can fly in a really small area. So if this is the kind of plane that you need where it's not a really big plane, you need something for a small airfield like a ball field or a soccer field, you could absolutely fly this in a small place. That makes it really accessible to a lot of people, and it's not the noisiest plane in the world. On a high throttle, it's a little bit quieter than a 3S plane would be. A 3S plane with something like an 8-inch prop, it has a lot of noise. But check this out, we can do some inverted rolls, and right here I'm trying to get it to go inverted for you and just see how it will handle some inverted flying. Typically pushers will kind of fight the inverted flying a little bit, but if you've ever flown an Aero Scout, you know that those planes do quite well. I believe the company called eSky makes that for Horizon Hobby. So this type of plane requires a little more throttle to keep it inverted. But I'm really feeling the controls it does nice tight turns, and I can keep it in a small space. It was so cool because larger planes, I've had an issue with keeping them close in for line of sight camera. And right here, we're going to do some passes and some circuits inverted. And look how well it flies inverted. You can see on my Insta360 Go camera down at the bottom left right there, it's doing quite well here. So I'm impressed with the controls, and I'm flying this is the stock controller here. Got kind of low to the runway there. Gonna make one more pass around, and now we're gonna go ahead. Just gonna flip it back over and get back into my comfort zone with some steady, straight ahead flying. And you know, this is one of those planes that it can take quite a beating because it is EPO construction. You shouldn't have a whole lot of problems with tearing this one up. If you hit the first thing that always breaks off on a beginner RC airplane is the landing gear. And so these landing gear are actually made to pop off. So if you hit the ground too hard where you nose in for the first time, it's going to do pretty well in a nose in crash, mainly because you don't have your motor up front and the landing gear pop off. So it's quite durable and good for beginners. You can also belly land this little guy, which is nice, but touching down there, and you got to remember, you guys, you have a 35-inch wingspan on this plane, so it doesn't glide quite as well as the pterosaur with the 55-inch wingspan that I reviewed a couple days ago on the channel. This one, it has a little less glide, but I didn't find that it had a whole lot of stall either, so that's good news. It does have a very nice flat wing, very much like the Aero Scout, so it's also quite maneuverable. It didn't take the entire length of the runway to land it like the pterosaur as well. So, and if you're wondering what the pterosaur is, go back on my channel and watch the previous video from this one, and you'll see the RC airplane that broke the internet type of review. It's just a title on there, nothing crazy. And again, just straight ahead flying, enjoying it, Sunday flyer or aerobatic. I found this one to be the best of both worlds. And some guys aren't stick bangers. They're not going to go crazy on the sticks. They just want to fly an RC airplane line of sight for just the pure enjoyment of flying a plane. This is one of those type of planes. And today there's no wind, so it's like the perfect day to fly. It's the perfect day. And this was early in the morning that we're flying today, so no one's around. Got one other guy just showed up, and I got the field all to myself until he comes out here. But what a fantastic out-of-the-box experience. Like, FMS just never tends to fail me. I haven't had much problems with FMS stuff in the past, and I was actually really delighted to see that Banggood started carrying FMS. Because I'm like, oh, okay, guys, here we go with some quality stuff that's just going to work out of the box. FMS could kind of be like considered like the GEP RC of the RC airplane world. GEP RC is one of those reliable brands in the FPV racing quadcopter bind and fly market. And again, I think this is a reliable setup. The controller could be a little bit better, but it is around $160 for everything in the box. So I think this one's easy bet. And long flight times, decent long flight times. Just going to do one more takeoff here, show you one more takeoff and climb out. And now another landing. Going to come back in here. And coming in a little bit hot right there, kind of teetering around. Now let's try a hand toss. Watch your hands. That back prop will get your fingers, so just move your hand forward on the fuselage for the launch. Looking pretty good for the hand toss test. So pretty much do anything. Take off the ground, touch and goes. You can toss it. This plane will do just about anything. So this is a good one, guys. Nice flat wing, fast or slow. All right, guys, welcome back from the flight test. So I think that this plane overall, number one, the coolest thing about this one is that FMS has a decent quality, and I've seen their planes before out on the flying field. Other pilots that are AMA pilots that also fly FMS. It is a very well-known brand, and it's an alternative to something like Horizon Hobby, where the prices might be a little more expensive. And honestly, I don't really think the quality is that much different than some of your more mainstream type of ready-to-fly RC airplanes. It is very much on par with anything out there. So FMS has been a brand that I have known about for well over 10 years now. It seems like they've been around. I used to see them on site at Joe Knoll when I used to go to Joe Knoll every single year in Woodruff, South Carolina. So I'm very familiar with their planes, and a lot of times they put decent, actually a little better detail in their planes than most. 9-gram servos on the bottom pre-installed with the linkages already set up. You don't have to do any of that except for the tail. You do have to sort of bend that one into place right there. I just did a quick Z-bend for that, and it was good to go. It has 2 bolts on the bottom holding on this elevator back here, and 2 bolts on the very top right here. You put the propeller on there, and once you charge up your battery, you're pretty much ready to fly. The canopy does hold the 2S1300 in here quite well. It does have a JST connector on here as well for the power source. I would kind of like to have seen that they use an XT30 on that. Maybe they can do that next time. We'll have a little bit better power source because JST kind of constricts the voltage a little bit. You get a little better power out of an XT30 connector. So you can upgrade that later if you want to, if you're handy with a soldering iron. But for beginners, I suggest just keeping everything the same. I'll try to put some links down below for extra batteries, one that I suggest that'll perform a little bit better than this stock battery, but I thought the stock battery was actually pretty nice for what it is. A little better quality than what I've seen on some other DIY kits. But again, on the cheap, this one was fairly cheap and easy to set up, much easier than the DIY kit that I got, the Petrosaur. I think that the Petrosaur, in general, if you want me to compare the two, for around a $100 price point with your radio and adding your own battery and everything else, the Petrosaur might fly a little bit better, be a little bit more predictable for the beginner, but this one has quicker access. So you can be flying this one quicker because you don't have to build and go through the role of trying to set everything up yourself. So just be careful that when you're setting this plane up that it does have the right surface movements. Now, if you're standing behind the plane and you move your aileron stick, your right stick to the left, you should see that this surface comes up. And then when you push to the right on that right stick, this surface should come up on this side. So, and that's standing behind the plane. That way, when you push left, your plane is going to go left and right. So very important that you go through that. And there is actually a manual in the box that will show you how all these surfaces need to move. So if you're the ultimate beginner getting started with an RC airplane, make sure you pay close attention to that. Also with the tail as well. But I like this nice profile that this plane has. Really awesome profile. It's like a miniature shrunk down Firebird, the old school Firebird, but sort of a 2020 modern version of this plane. Super nice. Really nice attention to detail, nice EPO construction, feels durable, and the landing gear pops on and off. So you can belly land it in the grass if you want to. Also, that's an option, which I really like. And these just pop back on. And one other thing before I let you go, which was really cool about this plane, is that it does have servo access hatch on the very bottom. So if you need to do any mechanical adjustments, when you're doing your mechanical adjustments, when you have center sticks, everything should be level here. If one surface is sticking up, a lot of times you want to mechanically adjust it first before you do some trim in the radio. That's just going to be my recommendation to you guys. And mechanically, I mean just pop this servo horn off and move it slightly so that your elevator or your rudder back here is absolutely dead on true with the surface of the plane. So that goes for ailerons, the rudder, and the elevator back here. So and this just snaps on and off with a little magnet, which is nice. You got a little pull tab here. So again, nice attention to detail for FMS stuff. And the landing gear pops back on pretty easily too. So you can break this whole plane down in just a couple minutes. But honestly, this plane is one of those planes that's small enough that you could fit in. I put it in my Prius, no problem, and drove to the airfield and flew this plane. But I think it's a pretty good deal for anybody that's looking for a ready-to-fly kit. Flies awesome, does crazy awesome barrel rolls, loops, and rolls, even flies inverted. So I flew this one a little more aggressive than I did the Petrosaur on the channel that you guys saw. yesterday. But thanks again, guys, for watching my channel and watching my reviews. Stay tuned for more RC airplanes on the channel and other reviews coming up very soon. I have some really awesome prototypes that are here that have not been released yet. So stay tuned, please subscribe, and click the notification bell for when the new videos come out. I'm Justin Davis, guys. Take care. I'm Drone Camps RC. I'll see you on the next one.